These are 3 of the grim adventures of Billy and Mandy's scariest episodes of all time. The 3rd episode is Who Killed Who. The episode starts off with Billy and his friend Erwin playing some kind of knockoff version of Clue, which is called Who Killed Who, and Mandy comes over and asks what they're playing. It seems like Billy is extremely salty from losing a staring contest to Mandy, so he's being extremely petty and telling her she can't play the game because she's a girl. I doubt Mandy even wants to play anyways, but honestly the way Billy is teasing her is really annoying, so I had to get mad too. While teasing Mandy though, Billy throws his dice really hard and it ends up going over the fence to this ominous looking mansion. The fences are literally covered in keep out signs, so their dice may as well be gone for good. After Grim sees the kids talking about the house, he actually knows all the lore behind it, so he begins telling them the story. The house is owned by a girl named Mrs. Doolin. One day while a bunch of kids were playing baseball, they hit the ball into the yard. This nice little kid Frankie offers to go get it since it's the only ball they have left, but when he goes to the yard, he's shocked to see how massive all the cornfields are. It's gonna be next to impossible to find this ball, and nobody knows if little Frankie ever found that ball, but something definitely found him. Rumor goes, Mrs. Doolin killed Frankie and turned him into a scarecrow, and not only that, but she fed the bones to her pet spider. A lot of time goes by, and eventually she passes away, but they say her ghost still takes anything or anyone that ends up in her yard. She even took Grimm's dog Lucky. That's honestly really sad too. It seems like Grimm really loved his dog. Manny thinks his story is a load of horse crap, but Billy and Erwin are terrified. Billy says Manny should go get his dice since she doesn't believe it to prove she's not scared, and I'm usually fine with Billy, but this episode he's being especially annoying. So Mandy heads towards the creepy house, and right away the vibes are really off in this house. With the creepy music playing and this baseball falling down the stairs, it really sets a creepy mood. Not only that, but the house is really clean, like mysteriously clean, considering it's supposed to be abandoned. Surprisingly enough, it seems like Mrs. Doolin is alive and well, so Mandy asks her for the dice. Miss Doolin and Mandy seem to be pretty stubborn girls, so it seems like they become friends, because Mandy literally spends the entire day in the house. I also want to mention how cool it is that Mrs. Doolin is voiced by Betty White. I honestly never expected this random side character to be voiced by someone so iconic. Mrs. Doolin and Mandy are having fun together fencing, and she even cuts him up a melon. After Mandy sees that Mrs. Doolin's spider is a vegetarian, oh, and his name is also Little Frankie, Mrs. Doolin reveals that because she beat Grimm in just about everything, which made him really salty, he started bringing up rumors about her, and honestly that does not surprise me at all. Also, it's really important that she says that she beat Grimm in everything, and I'll talk more about that in a second. Anyway, she tries to give Mandy back the dice, but once Mandy tells her why she's there and that Billy and Erwin wouldn't let her play the game, she gets mad. So mad she starts going crazy, and even Mandy starts getting creeped out. Back at Billy's house, he has this insane dream, and it looks like a nightmare, but in reverse. In the dream, he's literally terrorizing Mandy and crushes her with a dice. This show really does not mind being brutal to children. I think Billy started to get worried about Mandy or something because he decides to go get the dice for himself, but it seems like Mrs. Doolin and Mandy form some kind of evil plan, because as they watch Billy come in, they have an evil laugh moment. The craziest part about this scene is that Mrs. Doolin almost seems like she wants to feed Billy to her spider, which is just wild. Once Billy gets inside the mansion, he hears a creepy voice, and it's Mandy. Mrs. Doolin put a bunch of white powder all over Mandy to make her look like a ghost, so she could scare the socks off of Billy, and she does just that. Billy runs away screaming, so Mandy is satisfied, but the end of the episode has an insane twist. As Mandy is leaving the house, she turns to take one last look, but the house is completely destroyed, almost as if it was abandoned. She goes inside and takes a look at Mrs. Doolin's portrait, and it finally hits her. Mrs. Doolin beat death in everything, meaning she literally beat death. I thought this was a great episode, and it had some really cool scary scenes. Billy's nightmare was just straight up disturbing, with him killing Mandy, and the twist at the end literally gave me chills. The fact that Mandy spent the entire day and a whole night talking to a ghost in an empty house, and she had literally no idea, is insane. We also don't know if the stories Grimm told were true or not, because this girl could have really taken that kid and let her spider eat him. I mean, she literally was acting like she was gonna feed Billy to the spider. Other than that though, this episode wasn't that scary until the insane plot twist at the end, so that's why it's the lowest on the list. The second episode is Chocolate Sailor. This episode seems chill and pretty funny at first, but the premise behind the episode and the ending are just downright disturbing. The episode starts off with Billy going through a garage sale looking for a shrunken head, but he's broke, so his buff dude with a small head literally kicks him into space. It seems like they're at some kind of festival or local market because Grimm has his own stand and is selling man-eating comics from the underworld, and these comics actually eat people. Just look at how these comics literally chase this kid. I love how Grimm just simply does not care and actually laughs as a bunch of man-eating comics eat a kid just because he said the comic sucked. Billy somehow manages to fall right by Grimm, so he asks him if he can borrow $5. Grimm says no and gives Billy a comic instead, and this dude is instantly sucked in by the comic. We don't see what's in the comic, but it definitely has to be some disturbing stuff because in less than a minute, Billy says he's completely desensitized to gore and the comic could warp his little mind. Whatever is in this comic has to be insane. I mean, just look at how much crazy stuff is happening in the background. These two guys are getting in a car crash and fist fighting, then a literal UFO crashes into him, but Billy still can't take his eyes off the comic book. Billy finishes the comic, and at the end of it there's an ad for something called Chocolate Sailors. It seems kind of like some Girl Scout cookies because they want you to buy boxes and then sell them for a reward. Right away though, we can tell something supernatural is going on because a chocolate sailor on the page literally talks to Billy and hands him a pen to sign his name. Things start to get even weirder because in less than a minute after Billy puts his application for chocolate in the mail, there's already a box at his door. Creepy. Billy opens the weird weird package and he gets a little sailor outfit and a bunch of chocolates to sell. But Billy simply can't help himself and he eats one of the chocolates. This is where the episode takes a drastic turn because these chocolates literally make Billy go crazy. After eating just one, his eyes go crazy and he eats the entire box. Billy finds a reorder ticket on the bottom of the box, but when he goes to put it in the mail, there's already another box at his door, which is insane. What is going on? These chocolates are literally taking over Billy's mind. We can see that he wants to sell the chocolates to get the reward, but even when he tries to sell them to Mandy, he literally cannot stop himself from eating the chocolates. They definitely have some kind of curse on them because now Billy is even eating them with the wrapper on, and Grim is literally about to buy some chocolates, but Billy says he doesn't have any more, which is a lie. So he runs away with the rest of his chocolates. The next time a chocolate cereal box is at the door, we see someone with a chocolate hand ring the doorbell. Billy's dad opens the door and grabs the box, but Billy is now a feral chocolate monster and beats up his dad to take it away from him. Billy is now consuming entire boxes of chocolate sailors, all with the wrapper on, and I cannot imagine what these things are going to do to his body. In the next scene, we get to finally see the mastermind behind these chocolates, the real chocolate sailor. And there's actually two of them. One of them says that because of their top seller Billy, sales are way up. The sailor reports that they've already given Billy 10,000 units worth of chocolate, but he actually was the one eating them all. Not only that, but the boss sailor reveals that the chocolates are enchanted and turn you into a chocolate sailor. You see, he was planning to turn the entire town into chocolate sailors for his army, and he thinks everything's going according to plan. Grim and Mandy go to Billy's house, and just look how many empty boxes there are. I'm surprised this kid is not dead or in a coma. Billy is literally passed out on the ground, and this close-up of him gurgling is really disturbing. Billy gets up, and once he realizes that he's made a chocolate, he begins to eat himself. He's literally in pain, but he can't help himself, and he starts eating his entire arm. So Grim says they need to go to the chocolate sailor to get the antidote, and they pull up to this weird underground bar called the Bucket O' Chocolate. Some sketchy looking pirate says to take his boat and go until they smell chocolate. At this point, Billy continues to eat himself, so they have to rush before Billy completely eats himself. Also, I noticed a funny little animation error because while they're on the boat, there's a 5-second scene where Billy is no longer made of chocolate and looks completely normal. So I thought that was pretty funny. While they're on the boat though, a herd of seagulls start going in on Billy, and while Grim and Mandy try to help him, they bump right into a boat, and it belongs to the chocolate sailor. The chocolate sailor immediately recognizes Billy, and Grim tells him that he ate all of the chocolate. Apparently the chocolate sailor is used to these sort of things because he says,
"How can I have a proper crew when they always eat themselves?"
Implying that most, if not all of his crew, probably children, have turned themselves into chocolate that ate themselves to death. That's some insanely dark lore. Billy literally tries to eat the chocolate sailor, even though he's nothing but a head, so the sailor offers up the antidote. The sailor shows Billy a collection of insanely cursed enchanted chocolates, but only one of them is the antidote. It's also extremely obvious which one's the antidote because it's literally named antidote, and it's white. Honestly, I feel like it's kind of messed up that Grim and Mandy didn't help Billy here because his mind is literally so messed up by a chocolate at this point. He literally eats the entire assortment of cursed chocolates, causing something extremely horrific. Billy's head grows to a huge size and then straight up explodes. Billy literally just died. And not only does he die, but the episode ends with Grim and Mandy saying Billy is in a better place, a hot fudge bottle. This episode was really horrific. The fact that the cursed chocolate completely took over his brain, leaving him completely helpless as he uncontrollably consumes his own body, is insane. Despite being in immense pain, he just continues to eat himself. The ending of this episode really leaves you with a sense of emptiness. Like, I wonder if there's different universes with Billy and Mandy, and in this one, Billy just happens to suffer this horrible fate. It would make sense. I mean, in a lot of episodes, they have some horrible endings. Also, the fact that the chocolate sailor has caused tons of kids to eat themselves to death is terrifying in itself. We literally have no idea how many kids this guy has killed. The fact too that it seems like they're gonna cure Billy just for him to die is an insanely traumatic way to end the episode. They could have easily grabbed the antidote and only let Billy eat that, but for whatever reason, they let him choose. Grim is also a Grim Reaper though, so maybe it's possible for him to bring Billy back to life after this episode, but honestly it doesn't seem likely. Also, what's crazy is if Grim just gave him $5, this would never happen. But finally, the scariest episode is Spider Mandy. This episode is really gross and disturbing and has a terrifying ending, which I'll talk more about in a second. The episode starts off with Billy coming home from school, and for some reason he has this gigantic clamp on his head. Billy, traumatized from school and probably in pain for having a clamp on his head all day, goes to lay down in bed for a nap until something absolutely disgusting happens. Billy looks over and there's a gigantic spider in his bed. The spider is Billy's son, but Billy is terrified of spiders. But Jeff has a horrible case of the spider pox, and look how absolutely disgusting it looks. He has these giant pink pimples and green pores on his tongue, and he even says his sores are popping all over Billy's sheets, which is just absolutely disgusting. Jeff thinks the only thing that can cure him is letting his dad take care of him, so he goes to bed for a nap. But Billy is absolutely mortified, and now he has his own problem, getting that disgusting spider out of his bed without touching it. I'm guessing Billy gave up on getting Jeff out of his bed because in the next scene he's just passed out in his parents' room. Billy's dad though kicks him out of his bed, so he tries to take the cat spot on top of the TV. But this cat is a different breed. Most cats would have just found a different spot to lay down, but Billy's cat straight up kicks his butt and throws him out of the house. Billy is feeling defeated. so he just goes to sleep outside. His neighbor sees him laying there and asks why he's sleeping outside. Billy tells him about the spider that thinks that he's his dad, and the neighbor asks if Mandy is a mom since they're married. And Billy is confused for a second, but it gives him an idea. If Billy gets married to Mandy and the spider is her son, that means it would also be her responsibility too. So we can just make her take care of him until his spider pox goes away. And honestly, not a bad plan. Why would Mandy ever marry him? Not to mention, this dude does not try at all. He literally pulls up to her house at 3 in the morning and wakes her up to propose to her. His outfit is actually pretty nice, but he literally is using an untied balloon for a ring. Mandy kicks Billy out of her house, obviously, and at this point he's exhausted, so he just passes out outside. The next morning is when things start to get terrifying. Mandy wakes up with a bunch of pink sores, and not only that, but she has 6 arms. Billy somehow gave Mandy spider pox, and who knows just how bad spider pox gets. Not only is Mandy already growing extra arms, but creating webs, and who knows where that web is coming from. After Billy sees Mandy, he's absolutely terrified and not helpful at all, so Mandy just webs him up and tries to go find Grim. Grim is actually on his way to Billy's house for a snack, but just before he walks through the door, Billy's parents get snatched up by a web. That makes me wonder, did Jeff go crazy from a spider pox? Even the cat gets taken when Grim goes to the fridge. Grim takes this disgusting moldy sandwich and milk combo and goes to eat it, when the gigantic spider gets him too. When Billy gets home, his house is completely webbed up, and Grim screams in terror for him to run. Turns out it wasn't Jeff, but Mandy that got them. In less than 1 day, the spider pox completely took over her body, and she is now a complete giant spider, and she looks disgusting. Spider-Man chases Billy all throughout the house, and Grim takes off his head to follow them. Grim tells Billy the cure for spider pox before being taken by Spider Mandy, and it's insanely simple. It's get venom from a spider that gave her the disease. And bro was literally still chilling in Billy's bed, so Billy goes to his room to ask Jeff for some of his venom. But the problem is Jeff's fangs are pointing up, so Jeff does something insanely creepy and turns his head upside down so Billy can get his venom, and he literally milks him like a cow. I honestly forgot how disturbing this show can be, but anyways, Mandy breaks into Billy's room and is literally about to eat Jeff's head, but he's fine with it since female spiders literally eat male spiders all the time in reproduction. Spider wives literally kill and eat their husbands after they have babies. It's so gross, look it up. Billy splashes spider venom in Mandy's face, which instantly cures her disease, so it seems like everything is okay. And honestly, this disease is terrifying because Mandy doesn't even remember what happened, meaning the disease literally took over her brain. Billy tells Jeff to get out and never come back, and he's happy to do what his dad wants. Honestly, Jeff is such a chill guy, but Billy is so stupid. He drinks the spider venom to celebrate, saying it's a nice refreshing glass of lemonade, and he literally passes out. And at first, I thought he was gonna get spider pox, but what happens is even worse. Billy straight up dies from how much venom he ingested, and he was out for days. And the reality he woke up to is pure nightmare fuel. Billy gave spider pox to literally every person in town he touched that day, and it's a lot of people. Not only that, but he told Jeff to go away and never come back, so Grim wasn't able to get any more venom to cure anybody. Also, I think it's really weird how when Mandy was a spider, she didn't have any of her old personality at all, basically became a hungry monster, but it seems like the rest of the people in the town actually have their own personalities despite being gigantic spiders. Even Billy's dad is just chilling drinking some coffee while being a huge disgusting spider, and the episode ends with Billy's mom saying she's literally gonna eat Billy's head, and just wow. This episode was really scary and just downright unsettling. From a disgusting spider disease, and then seeing Mandy turn into a violent, disgusting, scary monster spider in less than 1 day of having it is insane. I really like too how they don't show you when Mandy actually becomes a spider, and instead just has her picking off her family one by one before doing the big reveal. It was a good jump scare. Mandy's spider form is absolutely terrifying, and the way she has nothing on her mind but blood is crazy. Honestly, the ending was the scariest part of the episode, and it was a really bad ending. The fact that Billy turned his whole town into spiders, and let me remind you, Billy literally has a phobia of spiders, so this is his worst nightmare coming to life. Either Billy's gonna become what he hates the most, or he's gonna be eaten by one, and both outcomes are equally terrifying. But I don't know. I'm just watching Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, the Grim Adventures of Billy. Anyways, scariest episode in the middle screen. That's what it is. Scariest episode of something. I don't know what it is. Scariest episode of something. That's what it is.